I'm Barbie Thompson, 32, and I spend my days coordinating community outreach in a mid-sized Ohio city where the hum of connection keeps me grounded. My life wasn't always this steady, though. Growing up in a small town nearby, I was raised by my mum, Lisa, a nurse with a laugh that could light up a room. She was my world until I was 10, when she married Tom, a factory manager with a gentle smile and a knack for fixing anything. Broken toys, broken hearts. Tom adopted me, not just legally, but in every way that mattered, calling me his daughter without hesitation. Those years were golden, filled with summer barbecues, and Tom teaching me how to change a tire, his patience wrapping around me like a warm blanket. Then came Ryan, my half-brother, born when I was 12. He was a chubby, curious kid, and I adored him at first, playing hide-and-seek in our backyard. But everything changed when I was 20. Mum died in a drunk driving accident. A stranger's car swerved into hers on a rainy night. The loss gutted me, leaving a hole I still feel. Ryan, only 8, couldn't process it. At the funeral, his tear-streaked face turned to me, and he screamed, "Why wasn't it you?" His words cut deep, a wound that never fully healed. He started seeing me as an outsider, the stepdaughter who didn't belong. Tom tried to bridge the gap, scolding Ryan for his outbursts, but the damage was done. By the time I was 22, I moved out, renting a small apartment in the city to escape Ryan's growing bitterness. I threw myself into my work, building programs to help families, channeling my grief into purpose. Tom and I stayed close, talking over coffee or catching up on his porch when Ryan wasn't around. I avoided my brother, whose resentment seemed to fester like an untreated sore. He'd mock my job, saying his future in marketing would outshine my small-time community work, always hinting that he was Tom's real son. Now, looking back, I feel a mix of sadness and exhaustion. Tom gave me a sense of belonging, but Ryan's rejection stings, a reminder of the family we could have been. As I sit in my office, surrounded by flyers for food drives and youth mentorship, I wonder how we got here. Losing Mum was hard enough, but losing Ryan to his own anger hurts in a different way. Still, I keep moving forward, hoping for peace, unaware that Tom's sudden death would soon force me to face Ryan's wrath and my own strength, head on. Ryan's teenage years were a slow burning storm. By 15, he was obsessed with proving he was better than me, the stepdaughter he refused to call sister. I was 27, settled into my community outreach job, finding joy in helping kids and families. Ryan, though, saw my stability as a challenge. He'd brag about his grades, aiming for top-tier colleges, but when he didn't get into his dream schools, his frustration turned to me. "You're not even Dad's real kid," he'd sneer, as if my adoption papers were a lie. I'd bite my tongue, remembering Tom's advice. "He's hurting, Barbie. Give him time." Time didn't help. Ryan's fixation on being Tom's true heir grew stronger. He'd talk up Tom's success as a factory manager, claiming he inherited that drive, while I was just Mom's leftover. It stung, but I was done arguing. At 22, I'd moved out to a cozy apartment near the community centre, craving peace. I coordinated my visits with Tom, Sunday dinners or quiet evenings, when Ryan was out with friends or at school. Those moments with Tom, laughing over old stories or planning community projects, were my refuge. He'd ask about my work, beaming when I told him about a new after-school program. "You're making a difference, Barbie," he'd say, and I'd feel whole. Ryan, meanwhile, stayed with Tom, commuting to a local college. He'd chosen marketing, dreaming of a flashy career to outdo me. When I visited, he'd make snide remarks. "Still playing do-gooder at that community centre? I'm going to work for a real company." I ignored him, focusing on Tom's warmth. Once, I bought Ryan a leather journal for his college graduation, hoping to mend things. But when he scoffed, "I don't need gifts from you," I tucked it away, my hope fading. Looking back, I felt torn, angry at Ryan's cruelty, but sad for the kid who once tagged along with me. Mum's death broke something in him, and I couldn't fix it. I poured my energy into work, organising food drives and mentoring kids, trying to fill the void. But deep down, I ached for the brother I'd lost, even as I braced for the next jab. Little did I know Tom's sudden death would turn Ryan's resentment into a battle neither of us could escape. Tom's death hit like a freight train. One night, we were on the phone, him chuckling about a new recipe he tried, promising to cook it for me. The next morning, a heart attack took him. I was 32, and the world felt like it cracked open. As the adopted daughter, I took charge of the funeral, leaning on Tom's pre-planned instructions. I stood at the funeral home, greeting neighbours and co-workers, my heart heavy but steady. Organising kept me grounded, choosing the casket, arranging flowers, writing the eulogy. I poured my love for Tom into every detail, remembering his bear hugs and quiet wisdom. Ryan showed up, 25 now, his face cold and distant. He barely spoke to me, standing apart in his crisp suit, shaking hands like a politician. I felt his eyes on me, judging as I delivered the eulogy, my voice shaking as I shared how Tom made me feel like his own. He saw family where others saw differences, I said, glancing at Ryan, hoping he'd hear me. He didn't. After, he muttered something about real family and left early. My chest tightened, but I focused on the mourners, their stories of Tom's kindness anchoring me. Back at Tom's house, I found papers outlining his estate, savings, a house, a car, and debts from loans he'd taken for Ryan's college and the mortgage. I knew the inheritance would spark trouble. Ryan and I were the only heirs, and his silence at the funeral felt like a storm brewing. I sat on Tom's old couch, clutching a photo of us at a community picnic, my heart aching for the dad who'd given me everything. I wanted to honour him, but Ryan's shadow loomed. I felt scared, not of losing money, but of losing the last piece of Tom to Ryan's bitterness. All I could do was brace myself for what came next, hoping I'd find the strength to face it. A week after the funeral, Ryan and I met at Tom's house to discuss the inheritance. I arrived early, my stomach in knots, clutching the estate papers. Ryan sauntered in 30 minutes late, no apology, his smirk as sharp as ever. "I'm taking it all," he declared, leaning back in Tom's old recliner. "I'm Dad's real son. You're just the stepkid. It's greedy for you to want anything." His words hit like a slap, but I was too tired to flinch. Years of his taunts had worn me down, and I just wanted out. "Fine," I said, my voice steady despite the ache in my chest. "I'll renounce my share, but you never contact me again. Ever." Ryan laughed like it was a game he'd won. "Like I'd want to," he sneered. I didn't tell him Tom had legally adopted me when I was 10, making me an equal heir. I could have fought for half, savings, the house, even the car. But what was the point? Money couldn't fix us. I wanted freedom from Ryan's toxicity more than I wanted Tom's estate. I left the house, my hand shaking as I drove to a lawyer's office. "I'm renouncing my inheritance," I told her, explaining Tom's adoption and my rights. She raised an eyebrow, but I was firm. "I just want to be done." The lawyer nodded, starting the paperwork. As I signed, I felt a strange mix of relief and grief. I was letting go of Tom's legacy, but also the weight of Ryan's resentment. I thought of Tom's warm voice calling me his daughter, and tears stung my eyes. I wasn't losing him. I was choosing peace. Ryan could have the money, but he'd never have what Tom gave me, a sense of belonging. 3 months after I renounced the inheritance, I was settling back into my routine at the community centre, leading workshops and planning events. I'd blocked Ryan's number, hoping for silence. Then an email slipped through. Barbie, I need help, it read, Ryan's tone desperate. Tom's estate included savings, a house and a car, but also hefty loans, mortgage, car payments, and Ryan's college debts. Ryan had blown through the savings, buying a flashy SUV and designer clothes to live up to Dad's name, he said. Now he was drowning. He'd borrowed from friends, then turned to shady lenders when they cut him off. The interest piled up and he couldn't keep up. You owe me, his email claimed, as if I'd tricked him into taking the inheritance. I deleted it, my heart racing with anger. I'd warned him about the debts when I signed the papers, but he'd hung up on me shouting, "You're not my sister!" Now he was stuck, and somehow it was my fault. I sat at my desk, staring at a photo of Tom and me at a charity run, his arm around my shoulders. I felt betrayed, not just by Ryan, but by the idea that Tom's legacy could become this mess. Ryan's arrogance had turned to panic, but I couldn't let him pull me back in. I remembered Tom's advice. Protect your heart, Barbie. I blocked his email, hoping that was the end, but deep down I knew Ryan wouldn't let go so easily. His desperation was a ticking bomb, and I braced for the explosion. The explosion came a month later. Ryan started calling from new numbers, leaving voicemails begging for money. $10,000, then $20,000. Your family, Barbie? Even if you're just a stepkid, he'd say, his voice a mix of desperation and venom. Then he showed up at the community centre, dishevelled, eyes wild. I was leading a youth workshop when a co-worker pulled me aside. Your brother's here. Again. My stomach dropped. I'd worked hard to build a safe space here, and Ryan was tearing it apart. I confronted him in the parking lot, my hands trembling. Stop this, Ryan. You promised no contact. He crossed his arms, smirking despite his obvious distress. I'm treating you like a sister, so be grateful. Just give me $88,000 and I'm gone. I laughed, bitter and incredulous. You spent Dad's savings, took on loan sharks, and now you're begging. This is on you. His face darkened and he stepped closer. You're just jealous because I'm Dad's real kid. That was it. Years of his taunts, his blame for Mum's death, his dismissal of my place in our family. It boiled over. You broke your promise, I said, my voice shaking with rage. You got everything, and you still can't stand that Dad loved me. I'm done. I got him a car, slamming the door as he shouted my name. Driving away, I felt a surge of power, but also a deep ache. I loved Ryan once, but he'd become a stranger. I knew he wouldn't stop, and I had to protect myself, no matter how much it hurt. Ryan's visits didn't stop. He'd linger outside the community centre during lunch breaks, calling my office repeatedly, disrupting meetings. My co-workers, once curious, now looked at me with pity. I confided in my boss, Maggie, a no-nonsense woman who'd seen her share of family drama. Barbie, you don't deserve this, she said, her eyes kind but firm. She suggested a transfer to our rural branch in the Appalachian foothills, a quieter office serving small towns. It'll give you space, she said. I nodded, grateful but torn. Leaving felt like letting Ryan win, but staying was unbearable. I got a new phone, kept my address private, and moved to the branch office. The first day, I stood in the parking lot, staring at the rolling hills, feeling a mix of relief and loneliness. I missed Tom's steady presence, his voice telling me I was enough. Ryan's harassment had shaken me, making me question my strength. But Maggie's support and the quiet of the mountains gave me a spark of hope. I blocked every trace of Ryan, new numbers, emails, anything he could use. I wasn't just hiding, I was reclaiming my life. Still, as I unpacked in my new office, a small part of me grieved the brother I'd once hoped to save. The rural branch was a world apart from the city. The office was a small building nestled between pines, serving a tight-knit community of farmers and retirees. My job was hands-on, delivering supplies, organising health clinics, listening to residents' stories. At first, I felt like an outsider, but their warmth surprised me. "You're one of us now," an elderly woman said, handing me a homemade pie. I smiled, my heart swelling. For the first time in years, I felt useful, not just surviving. I'd expected to return to the city once Ryan's chaos faded, but the mountains changed me. Helping a single mum get food assistance or teaching kids to read felt like honouring Tom's legacy more than any inheritance could. I thought of him often, his laughter echoing in my memories. The pain of losing him and Mum lingered, but here, I could breathe. I wasn't the stepdaughter or Ryan's sister. I was Barbie, someone who mattered. Late at night, though, I'd wonder about Ryan, a pang of sadness for the boy he used to be. I pushed it down, focusing on the life I was building, one small act of kindness at a time. Months later, I heard about Ryan through a mutual acquaintance, a co-worker who knew his friend. Ryan's reckless spending had caught up with him. The loan sharks he'd turned to were relentless, and when he couldn't pay, his wages were garnished. He'd lost the car, and the house was at risk of foreclosure. His marketing job, once his pride, was shaky as he struggled to focus. "He's a mess," my co-worker said, shaking her head. I nodded, a mix of relief and sorrow washing over me. I'd wanted him to face consequences, but seeing his life unravel wasn't satisfying. It was just sad. I tried to warn him about Tom's debts, but he'd shut me out. Now he was paying the price, not just in money, but in the isolation he'd created. I felt no urge to reach out. He'd burned that bridge. Instead, I focused on my work, grateful for the distance. The mountains, with their quiet strength, reminded me I didn't need Ryan's approval to be whole. I was free, not from grief, but from the weight of proving I belonged. A year after moving to the mountains, I've found my rhythm. The rural branch is my home now, its creaky floors and warm community a balm for my soul. I lead Storytime for kids, help seniors with paperwork, and drive supplies to families in need. Each day feels like a step toward healing, a way to honour Tom's love and Mum's laughter. I still carry their loss, a quiet ache that surfaces on long drives through the hills, but it doesn't define me anymore. I've built something real here, something mine. Ryan's shadow has faded. I hear he's still struggling, scraping by with garnished wages, but I don't dwell on it. He chose his path, just as I've chosen mine. I'm not the stepdaughter fighting for a place. I'm Barbie, a woman who's found her purpose. The mountains taught me that family isn't just blood. It's the people who see you, who lift you up. I'm grateful for them, and for the strength I didn't know I had. To everyone who's followed my story, thank you. You've walked with me through grief, betrayal, and the fight for peace. If my journey moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Keep building your own path, one step at a time, and I'll meet you where the heart finds home.